My name is Cassandra Wilson, but everyone calls me Cassie. I'm 34 years old, and last Tuesday my life changed forever when I checked my lottery ticket and found out I'd won $47 million. My hands shook as I saw the 6 numbers match perfectly. After the initial shock, a strange thought crept in: I'm not going to tell anyone about this money. Because I have a complicated financial history with my family. If you're reading this, leave a comment and let me know where you stand. Before I continue with this important decision, like and follow for more real-life stories of family loyalty and betrayal that might make you reconsider your own relationships. Before that fateful day, my life had been mundane. I worked as an accountant for a small marketing firm in Portland, making enough money to live comfortably, but never feeling financially secure. I rented a small apartment on the outskirts of town, a tiny bedroom, nothing fancy, but it was all mine. I woke up at 6 a.m. every morning, made coffee, and began my day with constant anxiety about bills and deadlines. The job was demanding. 60-hour work weeks were the norm, especially during tax season. My family situation was more complicated. My parents, Gregory and Diane Wilson, divorced when I was 14, and both remarried within 2 years. Gregory's father, a high school physics teacher, married Stephanie, a real estate agent with a taste for clothes and a lavish lifestyle. My mother, Diane, found happiness with Warren, a successful businessman who was richer than my father but extremely frugal. I had 2 younger siblings. My sister Lisa, 30, had always been the family princess, an Ivy League graduate, married to Dr. Paul, living in a beautiful suburban home with 2 perfect children, and my brother Jason, 36, who, while smart and charismatic, had never settled down. He changed jobs and girlfriends frequently, and borrowing money from the family had become an art form. The pattern was always the same: desperate calls, pleas, promises to pay, and silence until the next crisis. Even extended family was no better. My mother's sister, Martha, was perhaps the only genuine person in the family. Despite living a hard life as a primary school teacher on a shoestring, she was always there when I needed her. She drove an old Honda that made ominous noises and lived in a small apartment filled with books and plants without complaint. In contrast, my father's sister Heather married a wealthy man but was always showing off and looking down on everyone else. She often criticized our decisions harshly, mocking my career, my apartment, and my single status. Her son, Ryan, inherited his mother's self-sufficiency but failed to achieve financial success and developed a gambling addiction. An issue the family kept quiet about. Every time my family asked for financial help, I felt exhausted and suspicious. When Jason needed $5,000 to go to rehab, I withdrew my small savings, only to find out he never showed up. Lisa borrowed $2,000 for her wedding, promising to pay me back after the honeymoon, and then never heard back 5 years later. My dad needed his roof fixed after a hurricane, and I sent him money, only to see photos of him and Stephanie vacationing in Cancun the following month. The only person who knew all the hurt was my best friend Charlotte. We'd known each other since college, and of all my troubled relationships, Charlotte was the one that remained strong. She was a nurse, understood the struggle, and was non-judgmental. She was always a voice of reason when I was growing bitter, reminding me that not everyone was out to take advantage of me. Work wasn't any easier. My boss, Arnold, liked to take credit for my ideas in client meetings. My coworker Derek would leave early, leaving me to pick up his work, and he got the credit. Despite the snubs, I kept working hard, hoping that someday I would be rewarded. Buying lottery tickets is a small hobby I still have, a weekly habit that my family laughs at. My mother calls it a tax on people who don't know how to calculate. My brother jokes that I should give him the money directly, to avoid wasting it. My father lectures me on probability and statistics and scolds me. But in those numbers, I see a glimmer of hope, a small chance to escape, not giving up despite years of winning only a few small tickets. I had dreams. Traveling beyond the Pacific Northwest, getting a master's degree in a field I loved, saving enough to fix my car without breaking the bank. But as I got older, those dreams became more and more distant as student and credit card debt piled up despite my strict budgeting. Each month was a struggle between bills, shopping, and occasional dinners with Charlotte. I used coupons, comparing prices on everything from toilet paper to coffee. My car was a 10-year-old Corolla that made noise in the rain, and I couldn't afford a new one. I had mastered the art of pretending everything was fine, while my mind was constantly calculating whether I had enough money to attend or decline the invitation. That was my life before everything suddenly changed. The day I bought the winning ticket was my 34th birthday. I had just finished a stressful week at work, when Arnold had once again taken credit for my financial strategy, saving the company thousands of dollars. I stopped by Gus's grocery store as usual, but this time was different. "Happy birthday, Cassie," Gus greeted. The store owner was a kind man who knew his regular customers by name. I gave him a small smile, the usual, and an extra ticket for luck, paying him $20 instead of the usual $10. Gus winked. "Birthday wish, maybe today will bring you luck." This time I picked numbers instead of letting the machine pick them at random: my birth month and day, 3 and 16, my mom's birthday, 12, Dad's, 21, Aunt Martha, 9, and Charlotte, 30. 6 numbers representing the important people in my life, no matter how much they've disappointed me. That night, I ordered my favorite Thai food, opened the bottle of wine Charlotte had given me, and sat quietly by myself. When the lottery was drawn at 8 p.m., I didn't pay much attention, just scrolled through social media, saw friends having fun celebrating their birthdays. At 8:30, I remembered to take out my ticket and look at it, not expecting much. The first number that came up was 3. I smiled slightly. The second number, 16. My heart started to beat faster. Tuesday, 12. Wednesday, 21. By now, my heart was breaking. Number 5, 9. I held my breath. The last number, 30. I stared at my phone, unable to believe my eyes. I turned on the TV and watched the numbers come up one by one. My hands were shaking so much that I dropped the remote. "No way," I whispered in the empty apartment. "No way." The lottery website confirmed that I was the only winner of 47 million. After taxes, that's about 28 million, a huge amount of money for someone who had happily bought a 10% off coupon for laundry detergent that day. I didn't sleep all night. I read all the stories of lottery winners destroying their lives. Families falling apart because of greed. Friends and relatives suddenly appearing with heartbreaking stories begging for money. Many lottery winners go bankrupt within 5 years, more miserable than before they won big. One newspaper article called the lottery the fastest way to lose everything. As the sun rose, I made a decision: take the money, but tell no one. Not my parents, not my siblings, not even Charlotte. I needed time to understand how the money would affect my life, to be prepared to deal with it before anyone started telling me what to do. That morning I took the first day off work in 3 years and made an appointment to meet with the financial and wills lawyer, Philip Montgomery, in his high-rise downtown office. Sitting on the waiting chair in my casual clothes, clutching my bag with lottery tickets in it, I felt like a fake. Mr. Philip, over 50 years old, with salt and pepper hair, kind eyes and expensive glasses, stood up and shook my hand. "How can I help you today?" I took a deep breath and put the ticket on the table. I need to know how to claim the prize without anyone knowing it was me. His eyes flashed with surprise after seeing the ticket, then he nodded professionally. "You've come to the right place." For the next 2 hours, Philip explained my options. In this state, winners can collect their winnings through trusts or legal entities, which protect the identity of the winner. He talked about how to set up a blind trust, the tax system, and stressed the importance of not talking to too many people. Once the news got out, there was no going back. I nodded, relieved that my instinct to keep it a secret was correct. I wanted things to be done seriously, without money getting in the way of my life. Leaving Philip's office with my file and list of next steps, I struggled between excitement and dread. An ordinary person now has a huge amount of money. But I can't share this secret without having to pretend to be a poor accountant every day. Over the next 2 weeks, I worked with him to set up trusts, collect money, and open investment accounts. A sound financial plan ensured that I would never have to worry about money again, even if I lived to be 100. The money did indeed arrive, in an account I controlled. But everything remained the same, going to work, complaining to my co-workers about bills, driving an old Corolla. The secrecy was starting to wear me down. I wondered what my family would think if they found out. Would they be happy, or would they see me as a walking ATM? The questions haunted me, and gradually an idea dawned on me. What if I could test how they would react to my money without revealing it? What if I could test their character before deciding to share my secret? The plan took shape. I would create a situation where I needed financial help. Not much, but enough to create pressure. Meet with each member with the same story and request, to see who would help me unconditionally. Then decide who was worthy of entering my life. One night lying awake, I almost had the idea. The next day, I met with Philip to make sure everything financially was covered before we started. We built a diversified investment portfolio, a charitable trust, and a small personal account so I could spend money without attracting attention. Philip said, "You are very well prepared. You can quit now if you want." The thought was tempting, but I didn't want to make any sudden changes to my life that might raise questions. I said I would stay at the company until things were settled. That night, I invited Charlotte to dinner and told her about my plan to test my family. I couldn't stand it anymore, and trusted Charlotte more than anyone else. I was going to say I lost my job and ask for help, just to see who really cared when I was in trouble, I explained carefully. Charlotte frowned. "This plan seems a bit deceitful, why not have a frank talk?" I smiled wryly. "My family is not good at honest conversations. You know how they are. I just want to know who cares about me as a person, who sees me as a resource." Charlotte gently reminded me that I might hurt myself first, but she knew my mind was made up. I made up the story. The marketing company I worked for collapsed because the CEO embezzled money, and was under investigation. I hadn't received my final paycheck. Finding a job in professional accounting was difficult. Interviews were coming in, but not yet solid. My emergency fund was depleted to pay for recent medical tests. I prepared the story carefully so that it was convincing enough without arousing suspicion. I also knew how everyone would react. Mom might help a little, Dad would lecture me but be a little supportive, Lisa would cite childcare expenses, Jason would shake his head, the two stepfamilies would refuse, and Aunt Heather would criticize me for being unwise. Only Miss Martha, I sincerely hope. I called my mom first, and she sounded distracted but concerned. She said she would check with Warren because they had just put down a deposit on a lakeside vacation home and cash was tight. She suggested I ask my dad or Lisa, even though I wanted to avoid him, knowing Lisa was busy with her kids and private school tuition. "Mom doesn't promise, but she will still contact you." I recorded the details of my answer in my diary, feeling the hesitation of shifting responsibility. The next day, I had coffee with my dad. When I told him about the loan, he just blamed me for not having enough savings and rolled his eyes at my spending habits. He didn't help me even though he knew I was struggling, citing the reason of saving for retirement. His words to me were a lesson for falling. When I met Lisa at the luxury house, she initially showed sympathy, but when I mentioned the $5,000, she said it was for a new car, tuition, and home repairs. She promised to ask her husband Paul. I also declined her offer to let me stay with her because of my job in the city. Jason's brother replied briefly, saying he was having a hard time and couldn't help, avoiding further messages and calls. Stepmother Stephanie and Warren flatly refused, with disdain, and thought this was an opportunity for me to learn better financial management. Cousin Ryan initially seemed sympathetic, promising to help, but eventually cancels the appointment and disappears without contact. A mess. Heather's sarcasm and telling stories about other people's money embarrassed me. After a week, I was mentally exhausted. The experiment had exposed the worst in my family. 7 people who had borrowed money from me and received help from me had all broken their promises. Then the phone rang. It was Martha. She had heard from my mother, expressed genuine concern, and arranged to meet the next afternoon. We met at a small restaurant. she gave me an envelope containing $3,000, almost all of her savings. She told me not to pay it back right away, to take time to find a job and settle down. Tears fell as I realized her generosity, someone who had little but was willing to give with all her heart, unlike my family. After the meeting, I looked it up and found out she was struggling with diabetes, rising medication costs, and had to work as a tutor to make ends meet. I invited her to my house for dinner and confessed that the story of asking for money was just an experiment. She was silent for a moment and then said she wasn't angry, just sad that I had to use that method to test people's hearts. She understood why I did it, because my family was too harsh on me. She told the story of her divorce from her ex-husband, when he took her inheritance and invested it at a loss, considering it joint money even though her name was on the papers. The lesson she learned was the same as mine: money not only tests the character of others, but also illuminates our own. I still remember her words: money not only shows who others are, but also shows who we are. We discussed the future. I decided to set up a trust fund for her to take care of medical expenses, maintain a comfortable but not too ostentatious life. Philip prepared an investment plan, a charitable foundation, and I planned to quit my job to start a nonprofit organization to help lonely seniors, inspired by Martha's situation. Philip asked me if I was going to tell my family the truth about winning the lottery. I shook my head, wanting to keep it a secret. I called Charlotte and told her about the money and the experiment. Charlotte wondered, so what now? Are you going to become a rich freak and still keep your old savings habits? I smiled, probably not a luxury car, but not too luxurious either. This money should be used for meaningful things, starting with Miss Martha. We are going to have a family meeting. I have something important to announce. On the day of the meeting, everyone showed up: Mom, Warren, Dad, Stephanie, Lisa, Paul, Jason, Heather, and Martha, who came last and gave me a secret smile. I reassured him, I'm fine. Found a new job with a good salary, and am about to move into the director position of my organization. The reaction subsided, and they breathed a sigh of relief. When asked why I lied about needing money, I looked straight at him and said, because family is a place to rely on each other in times of trouble, right? The atmosphere was tense. Dad blamed me for my inappropriate actions. Mom and Stephanie cited personal expenses and dismissed the possibility of support. I pointed out frankly that Jason did not respond when I asked, even though he had borrowed a lot of money from me. He was ashamed. The conversation was long. I insisted on questioning the irresponsibility and hypocrisy, but no one admitted their mistakes. They blamed and turned to blame me, making others feel guilty. As everyone left, I felt a strange sense of relief. I didn't reveal my money story, but I stood up for myself for the first time. Money has given me something more valuable than anything else: the courage to look the truth in the face about relationships and set necessary boundaries. Miss Martha stayed to help me clean up and encouraged me. You did well, not only in terms of money but also in terms of life lessons. After a year, my life changed completely. I moved to a nice house in a quiet area, with a garden that made me happy every morning. 3 houses away was Aunt Martha's small house, a house that was convenient for her to get around. My nonprofit has helped over 200 seniors with befriending services, home repairs, and financial assistance, especially for those who are isolated like Martha. Charlotte also serves as a coordinator. My family relationships are now more distant and genuine. I keep in touch politely on birthdays and holidays, and no one knows about the award. People assume I am successful because of my new job at the organization, and don't ask any deeper questions. There were times when I wanted to reveal something, even though it was very tempting, especially when Jason asked for money for his business or Lisa complained about home repairs, but then I remembered my previous indifference and stopped. When my family was in trouble, I still helped secretly. Dad had a mild stroke a few years ago. I secretly paid off his medical debt through a patient support fund. Ryan ended up in rehab. I secretly donated. Every week, Martha and I have dinner together, and her health has improved significantly thanks to better medical care. One evening on her porch, she said, "You know what surprised me the most? If you had said you would win the big money that day, things wouldn't have turned out like this. I nodded. The family will immediately care and be devoted, but you can never know what is sincere. She smiled softly. That's why you have freedom. The painful yet profound experience has shown me who is worthy of walking with me in life. Money doesn't change anyone, it just reveals who they really are. I have struggled for years to maintain relationships that were inherently unbalanced. The biggest lesson is to understand myself. Before, I valued myself by giving, sacrificing, earning love and accepting being taken advantage of. Now, I know that true love is not calculating. It gives unconditionally but also respects boundaries and dignity, always present in difficult times as well as happy times. I used to keep it a secret because I was afraid that money would ruin everything. But I didn't expect it to help me be transparent and cut through the fake mask, to see the truth. Life is now full not because of money but because of freedom of choice with a peaceful heart. Miss Martha tapped my hand, pulling me back to reality. I am so proud of you. I smiled, thanking her for teaching me the true meaning of family. As the sun set over the horizon in a pink gold hue, I looked back on my journey from the shock of seeing the winning numbers, to the pain of rejection, to the joy of building a new life with the unexpected amount of money. Money changed my life, but not in the way I feared or expected. It just gave me the ability to see clearly and choose wisely. The greatest value I have is not the number in my account, but the awareness. The worthy person in life is not the one who is by your side when you can give, but the one who stays when you have nothing left but yourself. Have you ever had someone's loyalty tested? What did you learn from it? Share your story below. If this story resonates with you, please support with a like and subscribe to hear more real-life lessons that can change the way you see things. Don't forget to share this story with someone who needs to know that their worth is not measured by what they can give. Thank you for listening, and I hope you find the wisdom to recognize the genuine relationships in your life.